Hi, everybody. Welcome to this Pandora Astrology video about the nodes in Taurus and Scorpio. I'm Jamie Kale-Miller of Pandora Astrology. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julia Mijas, also Pandora, and I'm joining in from Pioneer.
And today we're talking about what it means when you have the North Node in Taurus and the South Node in Scorpio. And a way to think about this is the idea of letting go of drama, South Node in Scorpio, and instead embracing stability, moving in a more stable direction. So what are the nodes about? Well, the nodes are about your destiny path, and how to move towards it, how to go in the direction that is going to feel the most purposeful, meaningful, and like you're really on your path. So the nodes in your chart tell us about the direction that your soul is headed in this lifetime. What is the most pro-evolutionary stuff that you can do? That would be shown by your North Node sign. Do that stuff, you will evolve faster as a soul, and you'll feel like you're on the path and like you're pursuing your purpose. The South Node, by contrast, is past life stuff that you're drawing on, and it's experiences, and there's wisdom there, but you don't want to spend too much time in your South Node because that's like wallowing in the past. It can be a comfort zone, but you can also stagnate there. Julia, when you think about the nodes, what are the sorts of things that you think about?
Well, another strong connection with the nodes, not only in Western astrology, but also in Eastern or Vedic astrology, is that they can be related to karma, which is, again, just another way of saying what you've already said. And you know that we come into this lifetime with a certain kind of let's say personality, certain personality traits, and certain things that we do very well. But in order to sort of progress, we also have to let go, release that, and move towards the new direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And the North Node may feel like new territory, unfamiliar territory, risky territory even, but when you go in that direction, it's exhilarating, especially when you get it right. And the South Node may feel familiar and comfortable, but it can really suck you in, and you can waste a lot of time there. So let's think a little bit about what it means when the nodes are in Taurus and Scorpio. So and I like to think of this actually South Node first, because I think that when people come into this life, they're just so much more, because the South Node is where you're coming from. It's what you're the most familiar with, especially in childhood. And then the North Node you tend to grow into. So to embrace the North Node in Taurus is essentially to let go of your South Node in Scorpio. The South Node in Scorpio bespeaks past lives spent in very high drama circumstances, perhaps responding to emergencies, perhaps in extreme circumstances, such as, really oppressive regimes in terms of like government and environment around you, or situations where there were a lot of power plays going on, a lot of manipulation. Perhaps you had to learn to navigate that environment by manipulating other people around you, and especially perhaps the people above you. And also it's possible that those past lives were spent learning really skillfully to navigate an emergency, to respond, to the immediate needs of the moment, and to face life and death circumstances. Now, that leaves you with a lot of great skills, right? You can respond to an emergency, and you can really navigate some very tricky emotional situations, and you can get what you want. But it also means that if you live into your South Node, well, then you've got a life that's full of drama, essentially, and you're probably creating it. And you may even be doing that because it feels familiar to live life in a state of drama. The North Node, by contrast, feels completely opposite to that. And to illustrate this, I like to give this little vignette, this mental image. Imagine that you have been living in a city that has been bombed. and it's just a totally bombed out city, and there are like, corpses littering the streets, blood and gore everywhere, and you're trying to help people and you're trying to save people, and it's just become too much. You're overwrought, you're just like overstimulated from all of the disaster around you, and you leave this behind. And you instead go out into the country where you lie down in the grass, you put your toes in the dirt, you smell the green earth all around you, you listen to the bird song, you hear the bees buzzing, and you're reminded that the truth really is that life goes on and that you can find your way to peacefulness and consistency. And that's what the North Node here in Taurus is all about. It's finding your way to a life that is steady, that is consistent, that is peaceful, that is calm, that is tranquil, building wealth and security for yourself, and not being overly involved with other people, especially emotionally, not falling prey to other people's manipulations of you, not falling prey to the allure of being able to manipulate other people, but just instead, becoming a rock steady person in and of yourself who knows, where your boundaries are. Now, the reason why this is a difficult nodal axis, I think, to navigate is because, like all that stuff, peace, calm, tranquility, stability, sameness, consistency, to a South Node in Scorpio person, that's really boring. And it doesn't even look attractive. It's like, I'm going to go kick up some more drama because I know what to do with that and I can be the hero with that. But the North Node in Taurus just has a wonderful feel to it. Maybe I'm saying that because I love Taurus. Julia, what are your thoughts about this nodal axis and how to navigate it?
Well, I loved all those things that you were saying. Scorpio is also a very psychological sign. It's just intensely psychological, wants to read in between the lines of everything. So what I've said to people before, clients who've had this nodal arrangement in their charts, moving away from the psychological Scorpio into the more kind of body-oriented, mellow, chill sign of Taurus. It reminds me of that phrase in psychoanalysis, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, where Freud, the story is, Freud, he championed this whole idea of, men falling in love with their mothers and girls falling in love with their fathers, the Electra complex, and all of these strongly symbolic, sexualized images and symbols. And one of his colleagues said to him one day, well, Freud, you talk about phallus symbols all the time. What's it mean that you smoke so many cigars? And then Freud turned to him and said, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. And that kind of makes me think of this a little bit. You don't have to always read in between the lines. You don't always have to psychologize everything, analyze everything, just kind of, Taurus is just, it's earth sign. It's just kind of reality. It's just kind of there. So yeah, I think that's another layer in there.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not necessary to read an underlying meaning into everything. Sometimes you can just take a thing for how it presents itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple of charts to show about this. Two well-known people who have the North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio. The first one is Rockefeller. Obviously, oil magnate. This is a guy who built a great deal of wealth in his lifetime. And he had some principles that he lived by. Notice that in his chart, we have the South Node in Scorpio right here in the 7th house, North Node in Taurus here, and his sun at 9 degrees Aquarius squares this nodal axis quite tightly. So that for him, walking his destiny path was something that he needed to do to discover himself, to find out who he was and what he was made of. So I looked up an article and I found some principles of his success, and they are very Taurian. They are persistence, poise and reserve, so maintaining that stability, especially of mood, underinflating ego, which definitely speaks to, more of an earthy way of being, less of a watery way of being. Again, not being so emotional. There's a quote here from him, actually. He used to talk to himself, actually, to keep himself in check. And the quote says, "Because you've got to start, you think you're quite a merchant. Look out, or you will lose your head. Go steady. Are you going to let this money puff you up? Keep your eyes open. Don't lose your balance." So that's very Taurian. He also thought it was important to have a purpose beyond wealth, which strikes me as a really healthy way of bringing some of that scorpionic, like, look for the underlying meaning and be metaphysical into the very physical realm of Taurus. So that's like a nice crossover piece. And then he was also detail-oriented and frugal, more earthy traits. Julia, do you have any thoughts about his chart?
Nothing coming up. I think that you summed it good.
Okay. Then the last chart I want to show you is one of the world's most famous chefs, Gordon Ramsay. And as you can see, his South Node in Scorpio has a lot more company than his North Node in Taurus. And he does have a pile of earth over here in Virgo. He's also known for being very meticulous, quite a perfectionist, actually. But and I think it's good, for somebody like him to head in the direction of food, chefing. That's a very Taurus thing. Taurus has to do with food and money and values and possessions and being a good steward of your physical body. So he's obviously gone deep into the realm of food, and good on him. However, I think he brought quite a bit of that nasty scorpionic temper with him, because you can go on YouTube and just like search for Gordon Ramsay raw, and you will find videos where he is yelling and swearing and just verbally abusing his poor, students. And I guess that'll happen when you've got such a big pile of planets in Scorpio. And his sun there too. So we have here today an interesting set of examples of people whose suns are involved with the nodes. And for him to discover himself as a Scorpio, that kind of pulls him backward into his Scorpionic South Node ways of being, and maybe makes it more of a challenge to head in that North Node direction.
Yeah. And he also has the South Node in the 6th house. And I don't know him personally, but I would imagine the guy's a workaholic. He puts out lots of shows, runs several restaurants, has products, has this. I'm sure he works more than a 40-hour week. And so also not just the inability to let go of drama, but maybe a lot of his just working. North Node in Taurus, of course, like you mentioned, he got the cooking thing right. Taurus loves to is kind of in wonderment of the physical world. That's how I think of the sign. It's like it wants to see beauty, taste beauty, feel beauty, and so food and chefing absolutely makes sense with that. And, in the 12th house, maybe taking some time to meditate a little bit. I don't know how he would think about that. Probably not. It would probably just be very kind of, such new territory for him. That would probably seem like a crazy suggestion, but developing a spiritual side, doing things of service to others, maybe doing a cooking show where he's donating the food or something. That could be a bit more North Node in the 12th house.
Yeah, I like that. That's good stuff. All right. Well, that's what we had for you today. Hope you enjoyed it. You can find more videos like this one on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology, or on our website, pandoraastrology.com, where you'll find the news of the month in the forecast tab. And you can get readings with us personally, one-on-one, on Zoom, of course. And there are classes on offer as well. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye-bye.
Bye.